Christmas Eve revelation. A late single mom's surprising date with the CEO transforms everything. Sarah wiped her brow, the diner's warmth wrapping around her like a familiar blanket. The clattering of dishes blended with laughter, while the sweet scent of cinnamon filled the air, but the holiday cheer felt a million miles away. She hurried through rows of bemused patrons, supporting 2 kids and dreams of nursing, dollar by dollar holding everything together since her mother's passing felt like walking a tightrope without a safety net. As she served plates of mashed potatoes and turkey, a pair of piercing blue eyes caught hers. Jack, the CEO with an intoxicating smile, was an oasis in the holiday rush, a fleeting reminder of dreams she'd tucked away. Their gaze locked for a breathless moment, igniting something long dormant within her. She was just a waitress, after all. Who was she to entertain thoughts of someone like him? She reached his table, the rush of responsibility twisting within her. "Can I get you anything else?" she asked, her voice steady, masking her turmoil. Could she really step outside her world? Just for tonight? Yet the thought of her children waiting at home twisted her insides. Before she knew it, Jack leaned in. "Join us for a holiday gathering later? I'd like to get to know you better." The invitation was thrilling yet terrifying, pulling her closer to potential while chaining her to doubt. What kind of life would it mean for her kids? As she turned to walk away, uncertainty gripped her. Could she risk this glimmer of connection? "I can't," she stuttered, feeling the ever-present weight of loyalty to her children overshadow the flicker of hope ignited by Jack. Amidst plates and people, she faced her first moral dilemma, a decision between self-discovery and maternal duty. Each heartbeat echoed with the anxiety of an unwritten future. What if staying meant losing a chance for herself? A racing mind filled with questions left her breathless. The thought of leaving her children alone to wander into a world she longed to experience haunted her. She served another table but couldn't shake the tension of that invitation. A sudden fear gripped her. What if becoming a nurse, her long-dreamed ambition, was doomed to be just that, a dream? She factored costs, sacrifices, and the rising responsibilities of motherhood, echoing the warnings from her late mother. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The evening at Jack's glowed with warmth, but Sarah felt a stark contrast, her t-shirt and jeans among suits and silk. What was I thinking? She berated herself, scanning the room for a place to vanish. The bright lights illuminated the faces of accomplished professionals, sharp minds who emanated a confidence she craved but felt they would never see in her. Just then, news broke of a scandal hitting Jack's company, not mere rumors, but potential fallout that struck Sarah's core. The ethics of it all twisted inside her. She could either support this man on the precipice of ambition or uphold her standards forged through loss and struggle. A cool dread crept over her. Choices had stakes, and she was unprepared for this weight. As she stood amidst the lavishness, a hidden letter from her mother trembled in her hands, a legacy edged with dreams unfulfilled, a reminder of the hopes that had blossomed in forbidden circumstances. The night spiraled into emotional turmoil, forcing her to confront her heart and spirit. And then, Jack pulled her aside, face troubled. "There's something you need to know." Sarah's stomach dropped. She held her breath, poised on the edge of revelation and risk, questioning everything she thought she knew about loyalty, ambition, and love. Sarah's heart raced, caught in a web of uncertainty, as Jack's gaze bore into her. His voice, steady yet tense, reverberated within her, igniting a glimmer of hope mixed with dread. "You deserve the truth," he said, and the weight of his words hung between them like a fragile thread. 1,000 questions clamored for her attention. What could he possibly reveal that would change everything? Surrounded by the clinking of glasses and faint holiday music, the cacophony felt muted, almost surreal. This wasn't just about Jack's scandal. It was about everything that had led her to this moment. Did she truly understand what being involved with him could mean? Lent her a thrill of excitement, yet a cloud of trepidation loomed overhead, threatening to burst. "What is it?" Her voice emerged as a whisper, fragmented by her racing thoughts. She willed herself to remain centered, to not let the ambience swallow her whole. Jack stepped closer, a subtle motion that seemed both protective and intimate, breaking the distance she fought to maintain. "I'm at a crossroads with my company. This scandal? It has implications not just for me, but for everyone involved." His concern was palpable. He hesitated, and she could sense the internal battle warring within him. "I want to fix things, Sarah. And I want you to be part of that journey." His words hung like a gavel strike against her heart, which began its own rebellion jealousy at the lives being led around her, pursuit of dreams forsaken for motherhood, and now, the raw possibility of stepping into a world that seemed so far beyond her reach. "And what if I can't?" She grappled with his proposition. Could she afford to gamble with her life, her children's lives, based on a dream of what could be? Jack sighed deeply, his eyes genuine and inviting beneath the chaos of the moment. "You have the potential to uplift this company, to help me navigate through the mess. Your voice matters." His unwavering belief in her sent a spark of determination igniting in her chest, but shadows of self-doubt crept back. "Me? A waitress?" She scoffed, almost too incredulously. "Yes," he asserted, his tone unwavering yet gentle. "You understand people, what drives them, what heals them. If you could see yourself the way I do, you'd realize you're more than just a waitress." The compliment coursed through her but also awakened her internal guards. She had spent years burying dreams, assuring herself that they were unattainable because of her responsibilities. But here was Jack, offering a chance to resurface. "I can't leave my kids," she finally managed, her voice trembling. Jack's expression shifted to one of deep empathy. "You won't have to. This isn't about leaving them behind. It's about showing them that dreams are worth pursuing. You could inspire them." The mention of her children shook her, grounding her amid Jack's passionate words. Was she really going to risk everything on a connection that was barely formed? Yet the path to nursing flickered at the back of her mind like an old film reel, images of a life dedicated to care and compassion, the kind of life her mother had wanted for her. "Maybe," she finally murmured, weighing the temptation of his offer, wrestling with the unknowns. A surge of hope mixed with fear kicked in. "But there's no guarantee." "Sometimes there aren't," he replied, his voice softening. "But risks can lead to the most rewarding places." The prospect of action captured her imagination, and she felt herself teetering on the edge of audacity, contemplating the balance between instinct and responsibility. Her mother's letter glowed in her thoughts, urging her to step beyond the limitations she had enforced. "Well, if I'm going to do this," she stated, her voice firm, "I want to do it right. I need time to think. Take all the time you need. But when you're ready, I hope you'll let me help you find your voice." His eyes glimmered with sincerity, igniting the embers of ambition within her. As they parted ways that evening, the air thickened with possibility, yet it also paled in comparison to her familial ties. Sarah felt torn, poised between the dreams battling beneath her skin and the realization that true courage meant facing her own limitations and insecurities. In that moment of clarity, a decision loomed: stay in the safe confines of her familiar life or take a leap into the unknown with a man who could unravel her path both personally and professionally. As she grasped the letter from her mother tightly, a flicker of resolve settled in her chest. She'd have to confront the challenge of her life sooner rather than later. But what emerged next might unravel everything she held dear. Would she dare to face the people in her life who might not support her choice? The cold air met Sarah's face as she stepped outside, the twinkling lights around her seeming to ripple with a life of their own. Igniting memories of previous holiday seasons, family gatherings filled with laughter and love, she felt the heaviness of unresolved aspirations settle in her chest. Jack's words replayed relentlessly in her mind, a bittersweet anthem accompanying her walk back home. His faith in her was intoxicating, yet dangerously foreign. As she navigated through the quiet suburban streets, Sarah considered the implications of what Jack had asked. Each step matched the dual rhythm pounding within her, the yearning for something greater versus the instinct to protect her familiar, if lackluster, existence. Lately, her position as a waitress had morphed into an undesired identity, one that dimmed her zest and trapped her in monotony. But the thought of intertwining her life with his laced with ambition and risk was just as unnerving. Arriving home, the cozy scent of cinnamon and warmth enveloped her, a stark contrast to her storming thoughts. Her children's laughter floated down the hallway, filling her with warmth yet weighing her down. She paused, fingers brushing against the frame of the door. How could she justify a leaf turn from mother to a budding entrepreneur? An exasperated sigh escaped her lips, laden with the frustration of her own indecisiveness. As she entered the living room, the sight of her children coloring together reminded her of why she carried these burdens. They deserved not just stability, but a mother who inspired them to chase their dreams. Could she become that beacon? Her late mother's words echoed like a ghostly whisper in the back of her mind. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the resolve to move forward despite it. A spark of hope ignited within her once more, compelling her to take action. Flipping through the pages of her mother's letter, she marveled at its persistence, the insistence that she pushed past fear into action. The looming sociology final for her evening classes weighed heavily but felt less daunting when viewed through this newfound lens of ambition. Jack's proposal intertwined with her future heavily and also collided with all she had come to hold sacred. Driven by an emerging sense of accountability, Sarah grabbed a notebook and began to scribble down a plan. Step 1. Take Jack up on his offer. Step 2. Carve out a balance with her children. Step 3. Invest time in harnessing her skills. The ink flowed freely as her excitement overran the fear's grip. Yet, amid this burgeoning resolve lurked doubt. What if she was unprepared? Images of Jack charming investors while she stumbled over simple presentations floated in her mind. The mere idea of facing the business world paralyzed her. Seeing herself in those spaces seemed preposterous. Did she really possess the voice and potential Jack believed she did? The task at hand felt insurmountable, yet she had to confront the mutinous thoughts swirling through her mind. Sarah chewed on her pen, a wave of determination flooding her as she considered her children's future. They deserved a role model who pursued her dreams despite fear. Deep inside, she knew that true growth resided not in certain victory but in acknowledging the challenge. Tomorrow, she thought as she shut the notebook, she would reach out to Jack. Start of something new. But doubts still loomed. Sarah settled onto the couch, exhaustion washing over her, slipping into a restless sleep which offered no reprieve from the whirlwind of thoughts that as dawn approached. Visions of office meetings and the weight of her decisions began to crystallize. She couldn't ignore the consequences of her choices. If she pursued this path, it would undoubtedly shift her family dynamics in ways she hadn't foreseen. Would they stand beside her or see her ambition as betrayal? Ironically, the answer lay interwoven with her self-discovery. But as she woke up, one immutable truth reverberated. She could no longer ignore the call of her ambition. What she did next would determine more than just her professional fate. It would shape the very essence of her familial bonds. Yet beyond her plans lurked the inevitable confrontation with her children. Would their reactions solidify her path or bring her crashing back to earth? As sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, Sarah's heartbeat matched the rhythm of her determined thoughts. Today was the day she would confront her fears, and she mentally prepared to tell her children about the new direction her life was taking. Each breakfast task, pouring juice, flipping pancakes, arranging fruit, felt laden with significance. This wasn't simply a meal, it marked the beginning of a transformation. "Mama, what's wrong?" Lily asked, her small face tilted with concern, the blueberry pancake before her forgotten. "Nothing, sweetheart," Sarah replied, forcing a smile that felt both foreign and critical. In that moment, guilt seeped into her resolve. She had spent countless nights dreaming of a life beyond waiting tables, yet here she was, lying to her child. Just as she began to scramble for comforting words, Caleb chimed in, blissfully unaware of the weight clinging to his mother's heart. "Can we go to the park after school?" He dove into their typical morning routine, eager to escape the confines of the house. Sure, buddy, she said, unable to suppress the warmth spreading at the thought of their Saturday outing. Yet the tension in her chest felt almost electric. The unease of simply wanting to delay her revelation clashed violently with the impending need to share her ambitions. Once they were off to school, Sarah took a deep breath, the warm air filling with delicate dust motes dancing in the slanting light. Seated at the dining table, she opened her notebook again, a racetrack of plans sprawled out before her. Her fingers hovered over the page, contemplating where to begin the monumental changes she was gauging in her mind. Start with Jack. They could share an approach to business together, but what if she didn't fit in? What if expectations crushed her before she even took the first step? Placing her pen down, she recognized the threads of fear still weaving through her ambitions. Was she being rash? She needed to gather more than mere courage. She demanded precision, clarity, and knowledge. In that moment, inspiration struck. She pulled out her laptop, and in an uncharacteristic whirlwind of action, she began drafting an email to Jack, her fingers flying over the keyboard. I'm in. Let us do this. But as quickly as her determination rose, apprehension set in as the words materialized. Was she making a commitment that could spiral beyond her control? Sarah paused, revisiting her life, paused in this intricate dance of would-be aspirations and daily responsibilities. Vivid images of the children flashed before her, Jacqueline smiling and Caleb bounding in circles around her, their laughter filling their home as quiet corners. What would they think, she wondered? Would they see beyond the thrill of her ambitions to a deeper truth? That their mother, once tethered to the limits of her small world, was unearthing an astonishing potential? Questions surged through her mind, the nagging doubts, the excitement of liberation, the dread of disappointment. Emails flew to networking groups. Research into business courses ignited the spark of another dimension she could master. Sarah's tenacity shimmered on the page. With a renewed sense of responsibility, she determined to learn everything she could. Books crammed her list of resolutions, along with daily practice sessions that would bolster her confidence before facing Jack in meetings. As the clock turned toward the moment her children returned, exhilarating anticipation mixed with undeniable anxiety. It was time. The very prospect of voicing her commitment sent shivers down her spine, a blend of freedom intertwining with the familiar weight of doubt. During their evening routine, Sarah seized the opportunity, nervous but compelled. Kids, she began, catching their eyes. Confidence bubbled and clashed within her, like waves against a jagged rock. I've decided to take a new path. There's something I want to do that will help us all. Caleb and Lily exchanged looks, interested but reflecting a hint of trepidation. The air thickened. Hers was a pivotal moment, teetering on the edge of familial understanding versus potential backlash. Would they feel pride or rejection? Silence enveloped them, stretching like a taut string ready to snap. The hesitance vibrating between them felt heavy with expectation. How will it change things for us? Lily finally asked, her innocent voice quivering slightly. Sarah inhaled deeply, clutching the chair as she prepared to unveil her truth. As the room bristled with tensions of loyalty, growth, and possible heartbreaks, she knew her next words could redirect their futures. I want to pursue a business with Jack, she said finally, the declaration igniting a storm she hadn't anticipated. The children's eyes widened, and as that flicker of surprise transformed into something indefinable, she realized one truth: the journey ahead was not simply about her anymore. It was about the three of them navigating this uncharted territory together. And with their reactions now looming ominously in the air, Sarah could only wonder, would their new life embrace her ambition, or would they resist the change she so desperately sought? The tension settled in the room like a cold fog, and Sarah's heart raced at the silence that followed her declaration. She sensed a shift, an invisible chasm forming as her children processed the news that would redefine their lives. Caleb's brows knitted together in concern, while Lily's wide eyes flickered, searching for reassurance. Mama, Caleb ventured, his voice small yet serious, does that mean you won't be home much? The weight of his question struck her directly in her gut, unraveling the careful facade she had constructed to shield them from her fears. No, sweetheart, it isn't like that, Sarah rushed to clarify, her hands shaking slightly. I will always be here for you. I just want to try something new. But even as the words spilled from her lips, doubt gnawed at her. Would she really be able to balance this new venture and motherhood? Lily sat quietly, her expression shifting from curiosity to wariness. But why with Jack? He's a businessman. And you're our mom. Her instinctual reaction echoed Sarah's own apprehensions. How would she navigate a partnership with someone whose world felt so far removed from her own? Looking into her daughter's searching eyes, Sarah felt a pang of guilt for even contemplating this uncharted territory. She should have prepared them better for this, should have given them the full picture instead of a hasty fragment. But her ambitious spark clashed with the lingering fear of disappointing her children. I know this is sudden and maybe a little scary, she continued, trying to steady her voice. But I want to show you both that it's important to chase your dreams, no matter how big or small. I used to think that being brave meant doing everything perfectly, but I've learned it's about trying, even if we might stumble. Caleb nodded slowly, though hesitant acceptance was etched across his features. Lily's fingers fidgeted with the hem of her shirt, reflecting an inner conflict Sarah now recognized as her own, the burden of change bearing heavily on a young heart. That evening set into motion a new routine. Sarah dedicated herself to mastering essential business skills, poring over books, online courses, and networking groups. Each late-night study session gave her focus, and for the first time, she found herself reveling in the thrill of learning something new. It was as if she were sliding off an old skin, shedding the woman confined by self-doubt and fear. Wordlessly, the children adapted alongside her, each learning to navigate this new dynamic. Caleb began helping with smaller responsibilities, eager to prove himself. Lily, ever perceptive, approached her mother occasionally with thoughtful questions about her newfound ambitions. Gradually, the children's initial trepidation morphed into tentative support, but Sarah felt an undercurrent of tension still lurking beneath their interactions. By the time Saturday arrived, Sarah's apprehensive excitement had transformed into resolute determination. She met Jack downtown, each step toward the cafe dragging along bundles of nerves. This was not merely about business, it was about redefining who she was and what she could achieve. Yet, would he truly see her potential, or would the specter of their past dynamic overshadow everything? The cafe was busy, a comforting hum surrounding her as she spotted Jack in the corner booth. Their eyes met, and she swallowed hard, her breathing faltering at the sight of him. He looked composed, a contrast to the storm swirling inside her. As she took her seat, her thoughts spiraled. What if he perceived their differing realities as insurmountable? What if he had already formed assumptions about her motivations? "Hey, great to see you," Jack began, a friendly smile breaking the tension. But deep down, Sarah sensed the gravity of the conversation to come. This meeting could broaden the horizon of her dreams, or it could unravel the fragile momentum she had worked so hard to build. She brushed aside her doubts, steeling herself for an open discussion about her role, her vision, and what they could realistically achieve together. It was a trajectory, one ripe with potential yet fraught with risk. "Jack, I wanted to talk about our project, and what we can make it," she began, the words tumbling out amidst her heartbeat, already exceeding the rhythm of her confidence. As their dialogue progressed, she caught glimpses of his respect for her insights, affirming her instinct to plunge forward. But still, the tightness in her chest persisted. Could she truly sustain this dual identity of both a mother and a burgeoning entrepreneur without losing herself in the process? And just as Sarah contemplated the nesting doubts, a thought flickered into her mind. How would this venture affect her commitment as a mother? The truth was, she had to confront more than just external challenges. She was about to grapple with the very essence of her identity. As Jack leaned in to propose strategies, a sudden shiver tingled down her spine. The stakes were high, and she could already feel the weight of her next decisions pressing upon her. Would she navigate this adventure gracefully, or would it lead her into uncharted chaos? The next phase of her journey was unfolding, but what awaited her on this audacious path? The cafe buzzed with life around Sarah, but her focus narrowed to the man across from her. Jack's eyes glimmered with enthusiasm as he laid out plans, but her heart thudded in time with her racing thoughts. Each strategic idea floated past like a wave, and she struggled to keep her footing. "Sarah," he urged, leaning closer with a confident smile, "what do you think about restructuring our budget to focus more on digital marketing? It could really amplify our outreach." Digital marketing. Right, yes, she nodded. But her mind flickered to her children. Would they understand why she was spending more hours crafting emails than playing Monopoly? "I agree, but—" Jack furrowed his brow, catching her hesitance. "But what? You've been doing a great job with the research. Your insights are valuable." She fought against the whirlwind of uncertainty within her. No longer was she just a mother, she was ready to step into this business world. Yet a part of her still clung to the notion of being the nurturing figure to her kids first. Could she merge these identities without losing both? "I'm just thinking that." Sarah hesitated, committing to the moment as she squared her shoulders. "What if we also incorporate a community aspect to our marketing strategy? Involving local businesses might resonate more with our audience." Jack's expression shifted to that of curiosity. "Interesting angle. How do you envision that?" As their discussion unfurled further, Sarah found herself growing bolder, building on ideas. She dared to engage in a way she never thought possible. Her hands animatedly illustrated her thoughts, her voice steadying with each new concept she unveiled. Yet even in this dance of discovery, affection blossomed in her heart for her children. She thought of Caleb's doubt and Lily's questioning glance, and a creeping anxiety built a spectral fear of neglecting them amidst her ambition. "How do you balance it all?" she asked suddenly, breaking the flow of conversation. "Your work and personal life, how do you keep them separate?" Jack paused, surprise flickering across his face. "It's a constant juggling act, honestly. Sometimes I feel like I'm dropping the ball." This admission drew Sarah's attention. It was a vulnerability she hadn't expected. "But I believe it's like this," he continued. "You make time for what matters most. Whether it's family or work, you prioritize." His words resonated with her, igniting a flicker of hope. Perhaps she could learn to prioritize effectively, not just for their sake, but for her own growth. "I think that's what I'm scared of," she confessed, a new boldness filling her voice. "The idea of prioritizing my ambitions and still being present for my kids. What if I fail at both?" Jack regarded her thoughtfully. "But what if you don't? What if you inspire them by pursuing your dreams? Children learn by example, and they will see you striving for something bigger." Determination surged within her, pushing aside the guilt and fear that had plagued her for weeks. This was not solely about her success, but also about setting a precedent for her children. Their resilience and adaptability were part of what she could show them. As they laid out potential plans and budgets, the conversation shifted from abstract ideas to tangible strategy. Sarah's contributions grew increasingly confident, each moment marking her transition from mere hopeful participant to an empowered co-creator. But just as the meeting reached an invigorating crescendo, Jack dropped a bombshell that quaked the ground beneath her resolve. "We need to pitch to the investors soon, and I want you to lead. Your vision will be crucial." The weight of that prospect settled heavily on her. Lead? She had never imagined herself in such a commanding position, and in that instant, a torrent of self-doubt crashed against her renewed determination. "You want me to lead?" "Absolutely," he replied, unflinchingly. "You've proven your capabilities. They'll respond to your authenticity." Sarah's heart raced. The gravity of this opportunity, coupled with the fear of failure, loomed large before her. Could she manage not just the pitch, but hold true to her vision while maintaining her role as mother? The trajectory of her journey now pivoted dramatically, presenting a challenge more profound than she could have anticipated. In the mix of optimism, fear, and newfound ambition, she felt the stirrings of a heavy decision. What if this was her moment to redefine not just her work, but whom she truly was? It was a crossroads, one where she had to determine if she could step into her power while keeping her family close. The stakes were escalating, and she needed clarity before she could answer. Would she risk it all to forge ahead and expand her identity in ways she never knew possible? The answer danced just out of reach, awaiting a moment of revelation yet to come. In the days that followed her conversation with Jack, Sarah felt the weight of his words pressing against her chest like an anchor. She spent quiet evenings at home, her thoughts swirling around the prospect of leading the pitch. The familiar warmth of family life intertwined with the sharp pang of ambition, creating an internal tug-of-war that both inspired and terrified her. As she prepared for the weekend, the swell of anticipation grew, accompanied by an undercurrent of anxiety. Should she confide in Caleb and Lily? Would they support her if they knew she held this pivotal opportunity? The thought of disappointment haunted her. Saturday morning emerged with a crisp chill that danced through the air. As she watched her children play in the living room, laughter ringing like a melody, a flicker of resolve ignited within her. She wanted them to see her reach for something more. "Hey, you two!" she called, kneeling on the floor. "Can I get your opinion on something?" Caleb paused his game, curiosity sparkling in his eyes. Lily dropped her coloring book and joined them, eager for more than just static activities. Sarah took a deep breath, gauging their attention before spilling the truth. "I've been asked to lead a presentation at work," she revealed, her voice steady despite the racing thoughts. "It's important for me, and it could change a lot for our family. How do you think I should do it?" Both children regarded her with surprise, processing the significance of their mom's ambition. Caleb wrinkled his brow. "You led?" His voice was soft but laced with disbelief. "Isn't that for other people?" Lily's eyes grew wide. "Mom, you're good at explaining stuff. Remember when you helped me with my science project?" Their innocent encouragement coursed through her like a calming balm. She threaded their words into the tapestry of her uncertainty. "You're right. I have to show you both that it's okay to take risks and pursue your dreams." That evening, she began brainstorming the key points for the pitch, viewing the task as an obstacle she needed to surmount rather than an insurmountable mountain. Her mind formed a structure, a story she could tell where her vision mingled with their shared experiences. But with each passing day, the date of the presentation loomed nearer, and self-doubt crept in like shadowy figures from the corner of her mind. What if she forgot her lines? What if the investors laughed at her ideas? Those fears clawed at her confidence, but Sarah reminded herself that Jack believed in her. The image of him leaning in, urging her to embrace this moment, fueled her desire to conquer those doubts. On the day of the pitch, she dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that made her feel empowered yet comfortable. She wanted to convey confidence, but her heart raced with trepidation. As she stood before the mirror, she practiced her opening lines, forcing herself to face the reflection staring back, reminding herself that this moment mattered. Arriving at the conference room, the walls closed in. Rows of serious faces littered the audience, poised to judge her. Jack's reassuring nod ignited a flicker of warmth within her, grounding her as she took center stage. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'd like to talk about how our company can amplify its presence by engaging with our community. It isn't just about marketing, it's about building relationships." And as she spoke, weaving her ideas with the narrative of her journey as a mother and an aspiring leader, she found her rhythm. But just as she began to feel the momentum carrying her forward, she locked eyes with a stern investor at the back. Unyielding scrutiny lay in his gaze, igniting a ripple of vulnerability she hadn't anticipated. A fleeting self-doubt threatened to pull her off course. Would she succumb to fear just when she felt a flicker of confidence surge through her heart? Suddenly, the journey was not solely about leading a pitch, but rather redefining who she was in this high-stakes moment. Could she overcome the last barrier that held her back? Sarah paused, grappling with a choice that blazed within her. The answer lingered like a whisper, promising transformation if she seized the moment. Would she fight for her voice, or relinquish it to the shadows of doubt? The silence hung thick as tension swelled in the room, forcing her to decide. This was her story, her triumph, waiting to be carved from the uncertainty. The moment demanded a response. A crossroads awaited. A heavy silence enveloped the conference room, thick with anticipation and the weight of unvoiced thoughts. Sarah stood at the precipice of self-doubt, feeling the heat of scrutiny from the back of the room. The stern investor's gaze bore into her, but she could feel the gentle support of Jack's presence, an anchor amidst the storm of her uncertainty. In that stillness, clarity broke through the fog of her fear. This was more than just a pitch. It was her narrative unfolding a tapestry of resilience woven through years of balancing motherhood and ambition. Suddenly, she wasn't just the mother of two, she was also a professional ready to break free from the constraints of expectation. With renewed determination, Sarah squared her shoulders. "What we're aiming for is not just to sell products but to establish a legacy," she declared, the conviction in her voice striking like a bell tolling through the silence. Taking a step forward, she infused her words with the strength garnered from her children's faith in her. As she articulated her vision, visuals began to form in the minds of the audience. She emphasized the importance of authentic brand relationships, drawing from her own experience as a customer, a mother, and a member of a community. Her storytelling became a bridge that connected her ambitions with the values she instilled in her children. The initial hesitance of her audience started to shift, small nods emerging like flickers of light in a dark room. Yet, that stern investor remained unmoved, his expression unchanged. An unsettling instinct reminded her that she was being assessed, dissected. How could she dismantle the barriers of doubt he represented? He was the embodiment of all those who had ever doubted her capabilities. She could almost hear the whisper of Caleb's disbelief echoing back at her, questioning her worthiness to lead. "Does this sound radical?" she challenged herself internally. "Or is it simply a version of what many fear to voice?" With that introspection, her resolve solidified. She wasn't alone. Her entire journey had led her to this very moment. "I believe in the value of connection," she continued, her voice rising to a fervent pitch. "As mothers, as leaders, we all want to know that what we create has purpose, that it resonates beyond the bottom line." The stakes were higher than profits. They transcended numbers to tap into shared human experience. Amidst her fervor, Sarah noticed a subtle adjustment in the investor's demeanor. A flicker of interest began to replace the sternness, his brows slightly lifting. But the core of her focus remained sharp. What mattered most was her own belief in the truth she was sharing. As she concluded, she invited questions, prepared to engage in a dialogue where her conviction could further dispel lingering doubts. "What thoughts do you have?" She faced the audience with an openness that began to dismantle the invisible barrier between them. This was her moment to prove not only her ideas but also her capability to lead a team. After the initial rounds of inquiries, she found herself delving deeper into the specifics of her vision, responding to challenges with insights backed by her experiences. Sarah relished the moment as each answered question transformed the atmosphere, tightening a bond of respect forged through dialogue. But just as she believed she was gaining traction, the investor at the back spoke. "Your passion is evident, but how do you quantify engagement? What are the metrics?" His scrutiny returned, slicing through her burgeoning confidence. In that instant, doubt rippled through her once again. Had she oversold her vision? Would passion alone carry weight? Yet, recalling the strength of her children's encouragement galvanizing her earlier, Sarah took a breath. "Metrics can show us trends," she started, letting her voice hold steady. "But no number can capture the essence of connection. It's about fostering a culture where people feel valued. And that, I believe, is something immeasurable." As she finished, adrenaline surged through her veins, her heart pounding. The tension remained suspended, a delicate balance of expectation and uncertainty. This was only the beginning, she realized. With every response, her sense of self heightened, but the inevitable question lingered: could she maintain this momentum? Was this just a momentary triumph, or a turning point in who she was destined to become? The challenge of sustaining her newfound confidence now awaited her, as the eye of scrutiny remained locked on her. Each step she took forward felt precarious. Sarah could either retreat into the safety of self-doubt or push onward into the unknown world of leadership. The threads of her life hung in the balance, tugging her toward a defining moment she could not yet see. But the stage had shifted. Embracing the unknown began to feel achievable in her grasp. What would she discover about herself on this path? A revelation awaited, lingering just out of reach, ready to transform everything she thought she knew. Sarah exhaled slowly, her heart still racing from the exchange. The room brightened with renewed energy as the investor's critical gaze softened, if only slightly. This breakthrough marked a watershed moment, yet the path ahead remained obscured, littered with potential pitfalls. With that fleeting victory fueling her, Sarah understood the importance of sustaining this confidence. She couldn't afford to let doubt sneak back in. Her mind turned, contemplating the next immediate steps. How could she strengthen her position? What could she devise to not only satisfy the investor's concerns but also propel her vision forward? "All right," she murmured under her breath, invoking an internal rallying cry. "Metrics and connection, let's find a balance." She would need to craft a narrative interlaced with hard data, a strategic marriage of emotion and analytics to regain control over her pitch. The next few days unfolded with a relentless pace. Fire ignited within her as Sarah combed through market analysis reports, benchmarking successful campaigns against company goals, sketching out strategies that merged heartfelt engagement with quantifiable outcomes. She felt invigorated. The toil of late nights prepping presentations, driven by both maternal ambition and professional aspirations, bore fruit. In the quiet hours after her children were asleep, she pored over financial models, refining projections that painted not just hopeful growth but solid sustainability. She reached out to mentors for advice, absorbing their perspectives like a sponge, each conversation adding pieces to her growing puzzle. Every bit of insight fortifying her resolve. Yet, amidst her feverish prep, Sarah faced an unsettling reality, the imposter syndrome lurking at the edges of her blossoming confidence. Images of past failures flashed in her mind as moments when she floundered, and voices sneered, echoing judgments from her past that whispered she could never be enough. The investor's piercing gaze morphed into Caleb's skepticism, painfully familiar. She sat in a quieter moment, contemplating her journey at a park where she often brought her children. Watching them play, she saw not just their innocence, but the trust they placed in her. She recalled her daughter's budding sense of initiative, her son's enthusiastic curiosity. It wasn't merely motherhood, it was leadership. They were learning from her, imbibing her lessons on resilience, courage, and authenticity. It crystallized if she could guide them, why not lead a team? She felt the embers of her past rekindled into a blazing fire of potential. This realization transformed doubt into determination. As she prepared for the follow-up meeting, she stood in front of the mirror, her reflection fortified by purpose. "You are capable. You have every right to stand at this table," she declared to herself. Soon, the day of the investor's follow-up approached. Sarah walked into the conference room with a resolute stride, carrying an impressive binder filled with her crystallized data and impassioned narratives. The tension hummed in the air, but she was ready. This was more than a pitch. It was her chance to redefine the rules, the very belief that she was not only worthy but could excel beyond what was expected. Her voice wavered with anticipation as she greeted the room filled with familiar yet steadfast eyes. "Thank you for coming back," she said, her tone steady as she began weaving data into the emotional fabric she'd previously laid out. Metrics flowed from her lips seamlessly, now enriched with the insights she had uncovered. Yet, as she began to lose herself in the rhythm of her presentation, the very investor who had been skeptical raised his hand. "This is more compelling than before, but why should we trust you? What are your qualifications?" In an instant, the floor seemed to slip from beneath her. This wasn't just a challenge to her proposal. It struck at the very core of her identity, a moment that could either solidify her assent or provoke a hasty retreat into self-doubt. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air, a test not just of her ideas, but of her right to pursue them. With the memory of her children's unwavering trust, she paused, considering her response carefully. This was a true turning point, one that required her to confront not just the investor, but herself. Would she rise to the occasion? Could she silence the whispers of inadequacy that sought to drown her newfound confidence? The moment of truth approached, a forking in her path that threatened to either illuminate the way ahead or plunge her back into doubt. What would it reveal about her capacities and the legacy she envisioned? The answer lingered just within reach, beckoning her to seize it. The day of reckoning arrived, and Sarah stood in front of the investor panel, heart pounding but resolve solid. She could feel the scrutinizing eyes piercing right through her, and how strange it was this once feared arena of business felt familiar now, less daunting than it had when she first entertained the idea of stepping into it. "Why should we trust you? What are your qualifications?" the skeptic demanded, his voice a gavel of doubt resounding in her ears. The words morphed into echoes of her past failures and insecurities. But instead of retreating into the shelter of doubt, Sarah took a deep breath. "I may not have extensive credentials in this field, but I have something invaluable: perspective. I understand the importance of connection from both the consumer side and the people I serve. As a mother, I navigate the demands of life daily and know what it feels like to strive against expectations." She paused, locking eyes with her audience. "It's not just about numbers, it's about creating a message that resonates with real people. I've seen firsthand how businesses that foster genuine relationships succeed, and I'm dedicated to embodying that ethos." The shift was palpable. Her passion flowed freely, fortified by the lessons she'd learned along her path, weaving her story into their dynamics. Each heartbeat thrummed with certainty. Belief in herself radiated as she explained how her background in nursing had solidified her understanding of compassion, a trait she could bring to the corporate world. As she continued, her words painted a vivid picture of what her leadership could mean for the business. "I want us to engage not only our investors but our community, creating a culture that prioritizes understanding and loyalty. I know from experience that loyalty fosters success." With every sentence, Sarah cemented her position at the intersection of personal experience and professional ambition. Each fact she shared felt like a brick laid down in the construction of her newfound identity. She was building not just a business proposal but a valorous stake in reclaiming her dreams, and she could feel its weight lift off her shoulders. And then, she took a courageous leap. "I've come to realize that leadership isn't just about having a title. It's about being willing to take risks and lead by example. I want to show my children what it means to pursue your dreams, and I wish to inspire all of you to trust a new voice, mine." When she finished speaking, the room buzzed with an energy she had never felt before. The silent tension dissipated. The suspicious investor slowly nodded, his voice softer than before. "That was unexpected," and perhaps he shifted slightly in his seat, refreshing. "I can see how your experiences could reshape our approach. You're right on one front. Connection is what ultimately drives loyalty." Jack grinned broadly, pride shining in his eyes. Sarah felt the corners of her lips stretch into a smile that felt so genuine it threatened to unveil a well of tears beneath it. The moment crystallized for her. She believed in this not just for her ambitions but for her children as well. She was showing them resilience. "Let us talk specifics," one of the other investors chimed in, the conversation pivoting toward actionable strategies rather than lingering disbelief. Sarah's mind whirled in exhilaration as they began to engage in constructive brainstorming, building on her vision. Over the coming weeks, Sarah found a rhythm in her dual roles as mother and businesswoman. The team embraced her ideas, and she thrived on the collaboration. As morning sunlight filtered into her kitchen, she could hear laughter from her children while joy blossomed within her, unearthing the vibrant life that had been waiting to emerge. Gradually, her apprehensions waned. She became a fixture in both her career and her family life. She instilled in Caleb and Lily the importance of charisma and courage, encouraging their own aspirations as they witnessed her voice grow stronger with each presentation. "Mom, when's your next pitch?" Caleb asked one evening, shining with pride. "Next week." Sarah beamed, her heart swelling with fulfillment. "And I plan to knock it out of the park." Equilibrium had settled between her ambitions and responsibilities. The disjointed pieces of her life had finally harmonized. With every step forward at work, she also encouraged her children to find their passions, echoing the same lessons they shared at home. One evening, amid routine discussions of school projects and future aspirations, Sarah realized that she had built not just a career, she had crafted a legacy. The whispers of doubt, formerly deafening, were now mere murmurs beneath the symphony of growth and encouragement resonating in her home. Standing before the mirror weeks later, she observed a woman changed. She wore her dreams like armor, radiating confidence, love, and resolve. It was no longer just about achieving goals. It was about redefining her role as a mother, an entrepreneur, and a leader. As she drifted to sleep that night, Sarah basked in the knowledge that she had not only broken through barriers but had also laid the groundwork for a future where dreams thrived alongside familial love. This journey was only just beginning. A new horizon awaited. Now, if you haven't yet, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Trust me, it really makes a difference. Comment below with your thoughts on this transformation and share your own experiences. I want to hear your stories too. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Every action counts in bringing more stories of personal growth into the world.